Today we're exposing 5 classy wine brands that are absolutely robbing you blind, and revealing 5 that are actually worth the money. Number 1 might be the best investment you make all year. Here's what a fancy label costs. About $15 in design work. You know what it adds to the wine inside? Absolutely nothing. Yet wine collectors pay thousands every day for bottles priced by auction houses and marketing teams, not by what you actually taste in the glass. The wine world runs on prestige, scarcity, and centuries-old reputations. Some bottles earn every penny. Others are coasting on a name their great-grandfather made famous. Number 10. Château Lafite Rothschild is what happens when heritage becomes more valuable than the liquid itself. That iconic label from Pauillac carries the weight of first-growth Bordeaux history dating back to 1855. At $800 to $1,500 per bottle for current releases and astronomical prices at auction. This is the wine billionaires buy to prove they've arrived. The problem is what happens when you actually open it. Don't misunderstand. Lafite is a serious wine. The blend is typically 80 to 95% Cabernet Sauvignon with Merlot and smaller amounts of Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot. You'll find elegant cassis, pencil shavings, and tobacco on the nose. The palate delivers refined tannins and that signature Pauillac structure. But here's the truth blind tastings have proven for decades. Most experienced tasters cannot consistently distinguish Lafite from other first growths or even well-made second growths in the same vintage. You're paying for the Rothschild name, the Château's fairy tale architecture, and centuries of collected prestige. The quality is there, the value is not. When Asian collectors drove prices into the stratosphere over the past 20 years, Lafite became an investment vehicle first and a wine second. That's exactly when drinking it stopped making financial sense. Number 9. Château Pétrus represents Bordeaux's Merlot obsession taken to its logical extreme. This tiny Pomerol estate produces fewer than 2,500 cases annually, and each bottle commands $3,000 to $5,000 on average. Legendary vintages sell for tens of thousands at auction. The wine itself is undeniably powerful. Nearly 100% Merlot from clay-rich soils creates dense, dark fruit concentration. You'll taste black cherry, truffle, leather, and a velvety texture that coats your entire mouth. Sommeliers respect Pétrus for its uniqueness and its almost supernatural ability to age gracefully. But respect doesn't mean the price makes sense. Production costs for even elite Bordeaux rarely exceed $100 per bottle. The rest is pure scarcity economics and brand mythology. Christian Moix and his family built Pétrus into a cult through meticulous farming and brilliant reputation management. They deserve credit for that. You don't deserve to pay $4,000 for wine that tastes incrementally better than bottles costing a tenth as much. This is prestige pricing in its purest form. The wine inside could justify $500. It cannot justify 5 figures. Number 8. Dominio de Pingus proves that cult wines aren't just a California phenomenon. Launched in 1995 by Danish winemaker Peter Sissek in Spain's Ribera del Duero, Pingus became an instant sensation. Made from old vine Tempranillo using biodynamic farming and obsessive attention to detail, it promised to rewrite Spanish wine's reputation on the global stage. Mission accomplished. Now bottles retail for $800 to $1,200, with older vintages climbing even higher. The liquid delivers concentration that borders on extreme, thick, dark fruit, chocolate, espresso. Massive tannins that require years to soften. Critics awarded perfect scores. Collectors scrambled to secure allocations. But here's what they rarely mention. Ribera del Duero produces dozens of exceptional Tempranillo-based wines for $40 to $150. Many deliver 90% of what Pingus offers at less than 20% of the cost. You're not paying for a proportional leap in quality. You're paying for rarity and the story of a visionary outsider disrupting Spanish tradition. That story is worth reading. It's not worth $800 per bottle when the region around it proves world-class wine doesn't require cult pricing. Number 7. Super Tuscans sound romantic in theory. In the 1970s, rebellious Italian winemakers rejected strict DOC regulations and started blending Sangiovese with international varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. The resulting wines, Sassicaia, Ornellaia, Tignanello, shattered expectations and commanded serious money. Decades later, the category has become its own form of establishment. Bottles regularly cost $150 to $400, with top examples climbing higher. You'll taste ripe blackberry, cedar, espresso, and polished tannins engineered for international palates. These are big, bold, impressive wines. They're also expensive exercises in pleasing critics who reward power and oak influence. The issue isn't quality, it's value. Tuscany produces stunning traditional wines: Brunello di Montalcino, Chianti Classico Riserva, Vino Nobile, that offer complexity and terroir expression without the Super Tuscan markup. Those rebels from the 70s fought against rigid rules to make better wine. Their successors now charge premium prices for wines that sometimes taste more like Napa than Italy. When you're paying $300 for Ornellaia, ask yourself whether you're tasting Tuscany or tasting a winemaker's attempt to impress Robert Parker. The answer matters. Number 6. Screaming Eagle and the cult Napa Valley Cabernet phenomenon represent everything wrong with modern wine pricing. When Screaming Eagle released its first vintage in 1992, it introduced a new model: tiny production, mailing list exclusivity, perfect critic scores, and prices that climbed into the thousands. Other Napa producers noticed. Now dozens of cult cabs, Harlan Estate, Colgan, Bryant family, command $500 to $2,000 per bottle at retail, often much more on secondary markets. The wines themselves are technically flawless: ripe Cabernet Sauvignon from prime Napa Valley fruit, new French oak, perfectly balanced tannins, flavors of cassis, dark chocolate, and vanilla that sommeliers describe as hedonistic. But here's what the hype machine won't tell you. Blind tastings consistently show that experienced tasters struggle to distinguish these cult bottles from well-made Napa cabs costing $75 to $150. You're paying for scarcity created artificially through mailing lists and allocation games. You're paying for the story of winemakers who charge high prices because they can, not because the production costs demand it. At $1,500 per bottle, you're funding exclusivity, not proportionally superior wine. That's fine if you're collecting status symbols. It's absurd if you actually care about what's in your glass. Number 5. Château Léoville Las Cases sits just across the drainage ditch from Château Latour, a first growth that commands double or triple the price. The terroir is nearly identical: Saint-Julien gravel and clay. Cabernet Sauvignon dominant blends built for decades of aging. The difference is classification. Latour earned first growth status in 1855. Léoville Las Cases was ranked second growth. That historical accident created a pricing gap that doesn't reflect quality. At $150 to $300, Las Cases delivers everything serious Bordeaux drinkers crave: cassis and blackcurrant on the nose, firm, structured tannins that soften beautifully with age, cedar, tobacco, and graphite developing over 20 or 30 years in the cellar. Blind tastings regularly show Las Casas outperforming first growths from the same vintage. Sommeliers call it a first growth in disguise because it tastes like one without demanding first growth prices. The estate's consistency across vintages is remarkable. Even in challenging years, winemaker Bruno Borri produces wines that age gracefully and reward patience. You're not paying for hype or auction speculation. You're paying for elite Bordeaux made with zero shortcuts. When collectors chase Lafite and Latour, smart drinkers quietly buy Las Casas and smile knowing they got the better deal. Number 4. Barolo from traditional producers is what happens when a region refuses to compromise. Piedmont's Nebbiolo grape produces wines that demand patience. High tannins, searing acidity, and flavors that evolve over decades. Producers like Giacomo Conterno, Giuseppe Rinaldi, and Vietti make Barolo the old way. Long maceration, large oak casks instead of small barriques, no manipulation. The wines taste like the hills they come from. At $70 to $200, these bottles deliver complexity that rivals top Bordeaux at half the cost. You'll find tar and roses on the nose, a classic Barolo signature. The palate brings red cherry, leather, dried herbs, and a structure that feels almost architectural. These wines don't seduce you immediately. They challenge you, then reward you if you're patient enough to let them breathe or age. Sommeliers love Barolo because it represents integrity, no winemaker tricks, no added concentration, just Nebbiolo expressing terroir through meticulous farming and traditional winemaking. The learning curve is steep. Once you understand what great Barolo offers, you realize most expensive wines are shortcuts compared to this. When a bottle costs $150 and ages beautifully for 30 years, you're not paying for marketing. You're paying for something rare in modern wine: discipline. Number 3. Grosses Gewächs Riesling from Germany is the wine world's best-kept secret, and that's exactly why it's worth your money. While collectors chase Burgundy and Bordeaux into the stratosphere, German Riesling sits quietly on shelves delivering world-class quality at shockingly reasonable prices. At $40 to $100, these wines offer what elite Burgundy used to before speculation ruined it. The classification Grosses Gewächs translates to great growth, Germany's answer to Grand Cru. Producers in the Mosel, Rheingau, and Pfalz craft dry Rieslings with laser-focused acidity, profound minerality, and aging potential that rivals anything in France. You'll taste lime, green apple, and wet stone on the nose. The palate delivers precision. Crystalline fruit balanced by acidity that keeps everything vibrant. The finish lingers, clean and refreshing, making you want another sip immediately. These wines age for decades, developing honeyed complexity and petrol notes that Riesling lovers crave. Sommeliers know the secret. Grosses Gewächs Riesling delivers Burgundy-level terroir expression and longevity at a fraction of the cost. The reason is simple. Riesling doesn't have Chardonnay's prestige in global markets. That's your advantage. You're buying world-class wine before the rest of the world catches on. When you can get 20 or 30 years of aging potential for $75, you're not just buying wine, you're buying one of the greatest values in the entire industry. Number 2. Northern Rhone Syrah is what serious wine drinkers pour when they're tired of overpriced posturing. Côte Rôtie and Hermitage represent some of France's most compelling wines, yet they remain undervalued compared to Bordeaux and Burgundy equivalents. At $80 to $250, these wines deliver savory complexity that makes fruit-forward cult wines feel one-dimensional. The terroir here is unforgiving. Steep granite slopes, Syrah vines clinging to hillsides, minimal yields. The result is wine that tastes like the Northern Rhone: black olive, cracked pepper, smoked meat, and dark fruit that never feels jammy or manipulated. Hermitage, in particular, offers profound depth. These wines age for 20 or 30 years, developing leather, truffle, and secondary characteristics that reward patience. Côte Rôtie adds Viognier to the blend, creating aromatic lift and floral notes that make the wines more approachable young. What sets Northern Rhône Syrah apart is integrity. Producers like Jean-Louis Chave, Domaine Jamais, and Chapoutier make wine without consulting market trends or critic preferences. They farm difficult slopes, harvest by hand, and bottle expressions of place rather than expressions of ego. Sommeliers respect these wines because they represent what fine wine should be: elegant, not flashy; terroir-driven, not manipulated; affordable enough that you can actually drink them instead of locking them away as investments. When you're paying $150 for Hermitage that could cellar for decades, you're getting one of wine's greatest bargains. Number 1. Grower Champagne is the revolution the luxury houses don't want you to know about. For decades, big brands like Moët, Veuve Clicquot, and Dom Pérignon dominated Champagne through marketing power and global distribution. They blended grapes from across the region to create consistent house styles, then charged premium prices for luxury packaging and celebrity endorsements. Meanwhile, small grower producers quietly made superior champagne from their own vineyards and sold it for half the price. At $60 to $150, producers like Pierre Peters, Aigli Ourier, and Agrapart craft champagne with real personality. Single vineyard expressions, minimal dosage, extended lees aging. These are wines that taste like specific places, not corporate boardrooms. You'll find champagne that expresses chalk, citrus, and brioche without the cloying sweetness big houses use to mask mediocre fruit. The mousse is finer, the finish is longer, the overall experience feels more authentic. Sommeliers have been shouting about grower champagne for years, yet most consumers still default to the big names they recognize. That's your opportunity. When you can buy Jacques Solos or Ulysse Collin for less than prestige cuvées from corporate giants, you're accessing a completely different level of quality. These producers farm their own vineyards with obsessive care. They control every step from grape to bottle. The result is champagne that rewards attention instead of just sparkling wine designed to look good in nightclub Instagram posts. Grower Champagne represents prestige without pretension. You're paying for craftsmanship, terroir, and winemakers who care more about quality than quarterly earnings. At $100, you're getting champagne that outperforms bottles costing 3 times as much. That's not just value, that's one of the smartest wine purchases you can make. Next time you're staring at a wine list or standing in front of a premium shelf, you'll know better. Some bottles earn their prices through genuine quality and craftsmanship. Others coast on names their grandfathers made famous. The difference is everything. Thanks for watching.